Welcome into the Awesemo MMA Live Before Lock, as we're here to get you ready for today's UFC Vegas number 50, which starts in just under 1 hour from now. Of course, we'll answer any DFS questions you have on this fight card, a 14-fight card, so tons of fights to discuss, how we are developing our rosters, which I will tell you, when I was doing my multi-entry lineups earlier today, locking in those CSVs, the one thing that was very clear to me is I have got exposure pretty much throughout this entire card. I will say one of the things that I did find I had to do over in Fantasy Cruncher that I needed to limit the exposure on Ankalaev. And I have a lot of faith that he's going to get the win here today, but it's because of that salary point and how I wanted to develop my rosters. But of course, you got any questions, be sure to line those up. We are sponsored by PrizePicks. We'll talk about PrizePicks here later on in the show, as there was a couple plays over there that did stick out to me. But of course, as always, I'm joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr., apparently going through a little bit of a storm up there, which, Pete, by the way, it is March the 12th. Tomorrow morning here in Tampa, it's going to be 39 degrees. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, bro. I don't know either. So I apologize if I'm in and out, guys. We're dealing with a storm up here. One day it's like 60 around here, and then most of the time it's cold and rainy or trying to snow. So I hope that I stick around for the whole show, but regardless, I can't wait for this.
I hope you do too. Yeah. I like to bounce ideas off people, it makes the show a little easier for me if I can bounce things off you. Yeah, tomorrow, low of 39, high of 70, and then Monday, we're back in the 80s. Welcome to Florida, bro.
Yeah, Florida of 2022. Crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, let's just start kind of your game theory on this one. For me, and I mentioned right at the beginning of the show, for me, it's about getting everywhere. Throughout this card, the strategy show, you talked about, some of these under 8,000 plays, particularly someone like an AJ Fletcher takedown ability. I have found myself getting to more Cody Brundage than I thought I would. Terrence McKinney is going to be a guy that you look at because, he's a boom play because of what he can do. So what is your overall game theory today?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm a little bullish on AJ Fletcher, so obviously I want him to come through. And I think it's just a situation where the odds don't reflect the level of opposition that Semmelsberger has faced in the UFC. I think it's been somewhat soft. You talk about guys that probably shouldn't have even been in the UFC. And now you got AJ Fletcher, who I think is a pretty highly touted prospect, and I think deservedly so. I think that he can compete on the feet despite the reach disadvantage. And I think that if Semmelsberger closes the gap, or if things get a little too tricky on the feet, he can change levels and mix in some takedowns. So I'm extremely bullish on AJ Fletcher. I wanted to get to him a ton. And then it came down to prioritizing certain fights, because like I mentioned on a strategy show, I feel like there's plenty of underdogs that might come through this week, but they might have low scores. Like I'm predicting JJ Aldrich to come through in a victory, but I don't really know if she's going to end up in the optimal lineup unless everybody else just kind of tanks. I want to target some of these volatile matchups, despite, maybe getting single digit production from the loser in some of my lineups. So like that Terrence McKinney, Drew Dober fight, that Khalil Roundtree, Carl Roberson fight, those are two priorities today, especially because of their salary.
Yeah, I will tell you the JJ Aldrich, to me, that is more of a cash games play for me than it is a GPP play. I don't there's certain fights I look at and say, do I really want to get to in GPPs or do I really want to get there in cash? One of the fights I will tell you that I've been kind of struggling with of what to do is actually the Chris Moutinho Guido Canetti fight, because look, we saw. We're both very familiar with Chris Moutinho. He took a lot of damage and took a lot of shots in that Sean O'Malley fight. So because there has been so much time since that fight, I do wonder, has the Moutinho team basically said, look, we can't go in with the style of, take two to land one.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of just in his DNA. That's how he fights. He likes to press forward. And I think that Guido Canetti, despite being an older guy, is definitely live to pull the upset here. I'm going to be rooting for Chris Moutinho like crazy. It's an ugly fight in general. Like, if you're a safe player, just don't even play the fight. Like, just, hope that, the lighter weight class, some crazy stuff happens and it turns out to be a 15-minute war. And, it ends up not being optimal. But if you really have you're planting your flag on one or the other, I think that you could be a little upset come the end of the night, just because I feel like there's volatility in both. You have an older guy in Kennedy who has a suspect gas tank and just skill level as well, suspect skill level, against Chris Moutinho, who's been finished quite handily on the regional scene. And then for some reason took 400 punches from Sean O'Malley and was just fine. So sometimes your chin checks out and sometimes it does not. And clearly maybe the adrenaline in that big moment is what kind of got him through a moment like that. And I know he ended up getting finished, but that was like a questionable decision because the way it was going, it was one-way traffic the entire time. So I think it should have ended up going the distance. But regardless, it's a volatile matchup. I have exposure to Kennedy, and it hurts me because he's a 40-year-old talentless fighter within the UFC. And I don't know. It would be crazier things have happened in the UFC, and I could see him actually squeaking this one out.
This is one of those slates that, so like I was doing my office hours a little earlier today, and people were asking about, your favorite GPP plays, whatnot. This is one of those slates where I'm just like, man, I think there's so much volatility and so many fights on this one. Sure. Like, there's certain fighters that you really like. Like, I mean, okay, Ankalaev is someone I really like today. Miranda Maverick, someone I really like today. But then there's fighters that I like today, but I'm also like, okay, I see how they lose. Like an example of that, Song Yadong. To me, it's about he has to weather that 5-minute storm. And that's my, like, as much as I like him to win the fight, my thought is, man, Marlon could knock him out in 5 minutes. And it doesn't get to, minute 7, minute 8 of the fight, where I think that at that point, that's where Song Yadong can really take over the fight.
That matchup's interesting. And the reason I think it's interesting is because everybody's kind of already predicting how it's going to go. And they think it's going to be a Song Yadong inside the distance because history is going to repeat itself. And, last night I was going to go out with my girlfriend and we both decided to stay in and we watched film. And then I was sitting there and trying to find us an underdog and trying to figure out how we were going to get, some value on this slate. And I was listening to interviews from everybody, and you can, attest to this, that you can only take so much from an interview. But Marlon Moraes was saying how things are different over at Tiger Muay Thai, and how the focus has been a lot on his conditioning and a lot on running and sprints. And, and he says that it just goes to show that why these guys from Tiger Muay Thai, like Peter Yan, have had success throughout their careers, because what they do, the work that they put in. So I actually I have like a gut feeling that this ends up going the distance. I know early on, and just like if I had to pick a prop bet, it would definitely be Song Yadong inside the distance. Just because I feel like poor cardio and a poor chin at this stage of the game for Marlon Moraes is just a recipe for disaster. But the more I started to think of it, like, this could be a calculated striking affair back and forth, and possibly coaches got in Marlon's ear and said, hey, let's take our foot off the gas pedal a little bit and let's try to, let's look what we did in the Jose Aldo fight, or even early on in his career against John Dodson in the UFC. And, let's stretch this out over 15 minutes. Let's not hurry so much and put ourselves in a bad spot.
Yeah, no question about that. Of course, appreciate everyone that's in here on a Saturday afternoon. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Of course, if you're not subscribed to Awesemo right here on YouTube, do that as well. We got a ton of great shows for you each and every day. Come up here later on today. We got NBA Deeper Dive at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, if you're not a Awesemo Plus member, you want to get a peek what's behind the paywall. Today's free premium data and tools include MMA fighter rankings, NHL ownership projections, and NBA player projections. Of course, we got our podcast giveaway going on, where all you got to do is leave a 5-star rating and review with your Twitter username or Awesemo username, and you'll be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So be sure to check out that. Go over to that Awesemo MMA podcast feed, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Sam, I appreciate you in the super chat. Says best captain for DraftKings. So as I look at this contest here, so you got Ankalaev 14-4, Schmelsberger 13-8, Song Yadong 13-5. As I go down, I feel like Outs Pere at 12,000 may be the safer play.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I just wouldn't even. There could be a higher score, but like as far as getting a victory within the captain spot, if you want to be careful and safe, I think just the limited amount of fights for this slate is a little interesting. And here, surrounded by volatile matchups, you could put Sadiq Youssef at 12-9, but I think that Pereira has much higher upside of getting a finish, especially a first round finish, and possibly accumulating a knockdown or two. So I would agree with you. Pereira is the pick for the captain to be safe.
I mean, look, if you want to go for the boom score, it could be AJ Fletcher.
Yeah, I mean that's my guy this week, and if he doesn't come through, I think this card is just difficult in general. So we had to get a little gutsy and pick some underdogs, and I think that he has all the skills to get this done against an overrated Semmelsberger who has a piston of a right hand. But I mean, this is a massive step up in competition as well.
So I mean, here's really the important question about you staying home last night to watch that tape study. Do I got a cash score from Bree?
Cash core from Bree. Bree, I tell you what, Bree's really good at this, but my mom's even better. My mom is really, really good at like watching fights. She just got here right now. So like we're cooking food and we're going to sit there and watch fights. And, if the weather's too bad, maybe I don't have to go to work tonight. And, for what I would say is like a core for like even like a parlay of relatively safe on a volatile slate would be like a 3-leg of Ankalaev, Sadiq Youssef, and Pereira. And then if you wanted to add a 4th leg, it would be adding Miranda Maverick. But women's MMA, going to women's MMA sometimes, and you could get, a burner of a parlay. So I would just avoid that and just stick with the 3-leg. I think it puts you at like plus 125 or something, which is, it's all right. But that's a safe one.
Yeah, of course, we're here to answer your questions. We'll start going down these questions here. Top underdog tonight, I think it's very clear who your top underdog is, with that being AJ Fletcher. An
ungodly amount of him. You have no idea. I have an ungodly amount of him.
Like when I look at the under 8,000 over on DraftKings, I think that the ones that and I'm just going top to bottom to top. This is no particular order. Cody Brundage, Damon Jackson, JJ Aldrich, but that's a cash play. Because of your feelings on Fletcher, he's gone that. Terrence McKinney would be in that pool as well. And even though I do like Song Yadong to win, I would throw Marlon Race in there, because if Marlon wins, I do feel like he's gonna finish him in the first round. But I mean, like when I look at some of those underdogs, like Moraes, McKinney, like those to me are very volatile underdog plays, because we talked on Thursday about McKinney. The one question mark with McKinney is what happens if this fight hits minute 10, minute 11, minute 12, and what happens if Terrence McKinney can't get this fight to the ground? And Drew Dober is just shows the chin that he has. But we talked about this on Thursday. I mean, what's it, 11 times the last 3 fights that Drew Dober's been taken down?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I think that's why, like, outside of my guy and AJ Fletcher, I think that everybody's darling this week is going to be Terrence McKinney, priced at 7,200, average fight score of 111.8. So recency bias as well. If you've been playing the past couple cards, or last week, and then like if you played him in the Frivola matchup as well, like you think that this guy's a god. I like to be early on a lot of people, rather than, waiting for them to show me under the lights. So like, yeah, I'm wrong sometimes. If you want to be early, this could be get behind Terrence McKinney now and play him at 7,200, because there's takedown upside, because he was talking about going 10 hard rounds in training, and training's different because the pace is different and the pressure's different. I would love to see him reach the 2nd and 3rd round and show off that he can go that long. But let's just say that dog is there and that he has that within himself. You could be looking at an extreme value in Terrence McKinney, 7,200. And I'll be honest, I got to more of him than I wanted to, because I do think that Drew Dober is a very dangerous fighter and a massive step up in competition. But Terrence McKinney, like he's in like my top 3, maybe top 4 underdogs within, the 8,000 range.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes out and wins tonight, the days of Terrence McKinney being a 7,000 fighter on DraftKings are coming to an end.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
If McKinney wins here today,
yep.
his days of a 7,000 salary fighter on DraftKings are over.
Absolutely.
I mean, most likely if he wins here today, his next fight, he's probably going to be high 8s, low 9s. And I'll say this, and this is one of those slates. We got a lot of 9,000 fighters, and someone mentioned this in Discord a little earlier. It's like, will any of these 9,000 fighters end up optimal, or will we see more of the high 8,000 range end up optimal? And it's a really fascinating,
fantastic question, because
like when you look at these upper tiers, so we got Ankalaev at 9,600. $20 and $23 over there on FanDuel. You look at the other 9,000 options. You got Song Yudong 9,200, Sadiq Youssef 9,100, Drew Dober 9,000, Matthew Smellsberger 9,300, Miranda Maverick in 9,400. Like, I think in terms of being optimal, I think it just comes down to if Ankalaev is optimal at 9,600. To me, that tells me we've got 2 underdogs who are coming in today.
Yeah.
To, like 7,400 and below underdogs coming in today, because it's that price tag. And I mentioned beginning of the show, I limited my exposure on Ankalaev because Crunchyroll was trying to give me 70% Ankalaev. And I was just like, man, I got to lower that number.
I don't hate it, because like I got away from the main event just because I feel like there's a situation where we've seen this fight before and it's a low scoring affair, like a Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos, methodical striking match back and forth. But the one wrinkle that Ankalaev brings to the table is that he can incorporate takedowns if he needs to. And I do think that he has KO power. And I do think that he still has finishing upside against a guy who has been knocked out against David Branch, and has been finished from time to time. So despite the strength of Thiago Santos' schedule, I think this is Ankalaev's time. I think that he is not a volatile 9,000 option at all. And there's less question marks about him. It's just a matter of like the landscape of the slate and like scoring well. And normally we have like 3 or 4 9,000 options. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 9,000 options. I find it very, very difficult that not one of them makes it into the optimal lineup. I feel like there has to be one. If all of them are out of the optimal lineup, you're going to be seeing a very, very strange lineup with tons of salary left on the table. And that's a way to get different, man. There's no problem with that.
Of course, this is the Also MMA Live Before Lock show. If you got any questions, be sure to line those up in chat. And we are excited to announce the launch of our new premium betting pick subscription. All you got to do is click the link below to subscribe, go right into the YouTube chat, YouTube info. You'll see a link for this to join our betting picks Discord channel. Each day, Alex Awesemo Baker, Ben Ross, Steve DeColt Buzzard use Awesemo's industry-leading projection models to identify the best potential ROI situation and provide catered snapshot betting analysis in actionable time frame. Until March 17th, you can get a discount on these best bets when you use the coupon "Let Me See Those Picks" at checkout, which will get you full access for only $15. Now is the time to get premium betting pick subscription just in time for March Madness. Click the link for today's game. And I will tell you, before you came into the show here, as we were getting ready for the show, Tyler's been telling Ben over there, and let's just say Tyler's having a good weekend.
Oh yeah, awesome, good. I love to hear that. Yeah, man, I absolutely love to hear that. Our guys are great, just all around. Like, we have a lot of smart-minded people, and just everybody who's just they have their own little niche, and we're happy to be doing what we do. Happy to provide insight for you guys for MMA, and we appreciate you. If you guys can hit that like button, get us up over 100, extremely appreciate it.
So question we got here is Damon Jackson by sub or Camelo Kirk by TKO. I do like the Damon Jackson via submission prop, which is plus 400. I'm going to read you a quote from the interview I had with Damon Jackson. In practice, I'm kind of being an asshole. I'm hitting people hard, making sure I'm getting that sub that I always get at all my other fights.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, right? Like, yeah.
But and so when I put that quote out there, one of his teammates said, "Yep, this is true."
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know. I think that Damon Jackson might be completely underestimating Camuela Kirk. And like Camuela Kirk is a guy who's been within the gym and been training jiu-jitsu since like the age of 4. He has the better striking than Damon Jackson. He does not have the better resume, has not fought the better competition. But I mean, I think that he comes from a very strong camp. He at Fight Ready, like he's going to be prepped. He's going to be ready. He's going to be prepared. I actually got to less of this fight than I was expecting, just because I feel like they can negate each other a little bit. They could have moments in the striking and then it become a clinch war against the fence, and they take turns taking each other down, reversing position, threatening each other. Camuela Kirk he only has one win coming via decision, and it was his most recent one against Amir Khani. He's a finishing machine, whereas Damon Jackson is as well. And I don't think that either one of these guys is going to find the finish, because they're both going to have defensive-minded grappling. They're aggressive, but I feel like they're going to meet their match, and it's kind of like a mirror match. And I got to a little bit less of it than I thought. If I'm going to lean towards a spectacular finish, I can easily see Camuela Kirk hitting him with like a highlight reel KO, and I wouldn't be really surprised.
Next up says, so is Dober the ultimate leverage play? I could see him knocking McKinney out. I would agree with that statement. If you're looking for a 9,000 option, that I do think that McKinney is going to be very popular. So I think if you want to try to maybe get a little bit of leverage on the field, say you're playing in a 150 max or 20 max, I do think getting to Dober, there is some leverage there.
I would agree. It's just like, what underdogs are you pairing Dober with, and what underdogs are you pairing, any of these 9,000 options with? If it's not Fletcher and it's not McKinney, like you're going to go to Marlon Moraes route. You're going to go the Guido Canetti route, JJ Aldrich. I think Cody Brundage makes a ton of sense at 7,900, but I'm not convinced that he's like UFC ready by any means. And Dolce Lugambula, pretty heavy-handed guy, good judo background. And I listened to so many interviews of Cody Brundage saying that he's going to take him into deep water. Round 1's going to be difficult. Rounds 2 and 3 is where he's going to wear on him and try to just, get in top position and just, make him carry his weight en route to possibly submitting him or ground and pounding him. And he has all the wrestling upside in this matchup.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a thought of Cody Brundage, and I think he's overrated. I think that he has a skill set to beat Dolce Lugambula. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of if he tries to be fancy and pretty on the feet on the outside.
And the person who left that question, DP, says it's hard to not click a 7,200 Terrence McKinney. And
yeah,
that's what I mean, that's, it's one of those things of, Dober's going to come forward. It's just, to me, it's if Drew can keep this thing on the feet, I really like Drew in this spot, but this could be a spot where Terrence McKinney really uses that wrestling background. And, every week we talk about, more on the DraftKings side of the equation. This one is those guys that can get the fight to the ground and can rack up control time and can land those total strikes that ultimately let them lit up. Sam says, he goes, I feel if this stays standing, Dober will win, but if McKinney does take him down, I see him punishing him. Yeah, that's kind of something there. Wilbur says, underdog night. I do kind of get that feeling about that.
I know. I feel like this could be creating a group over on Awesemo.com, using a fantasy cruncher tool, getting to at least 2 underdogs, and I say 3. And you have Khalil Roundtree right there as well, priced at 8,000. He's basically an underdog within that matchup, despite how close it is. I just feel like it's an underdog type of night, and there's some ownership going to some of these fighters that I don't really understand, and there's some people that are completely getting glossed over, and it's quite amusing. I don't know. I think people just need to spread their ownership out a little bit. It's pretty consolidated. So if you're avoiding McKinney, you're avoiding a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, going a different route will definitely getting away from McKinney will let you. Corey, I appreciate you in the super chat. He says, thoughts on Junkie on DraftKings for an upset. And I know this is a play, Pete, you liked.
Yeah, I like Tafon and Junkie. I do. I think that, he's being forgotten about, and there's definitely a concern with his grappling as shown in that Park fight, but he does come from a pretty strong grappling camp in Team Lloyd Urban. And, that's more of a jiu-jitsu base, but I feel like they're going to try to patch some of those holes, and they know like what's going to happen. People aren't going to want to stand with Tafon and Junkie for a while. And I don't even think that Murzakanov is going to want to really stand for all that much. I think it's going to be a staring contest for a little bit, little methodical striking. And then if Murzakanov tries to change levels and go for a takedown, we could be seeing an improved Tafon and Junkie. This is just a fight that I think gets stretched out for 15 minutes. So like, this is a JJ Aldrich, Jillian Robertson, where I think it's going to go the distance. And man, if some of these underdogs really just don't come through at all, do we have a fighter scoring 70 points in the optimal lineup? Like, it would blow my mind.
Yeah. It's that's one of those fights, it's the first fight night. I don't want to get to it.
I know, but hey, no. That's how we used to be, right? Like Jason used to literally just not get to the first fight of the night. And there was a very long time where he was profitable by just that same mindset. Don't care who it is. Could have been Israel Adesanya, first fight of the night, not touching it. And everybody would flock to the first fight of the night, and Jason would be like on his merry way doing fine. Times have changed. And I think the COVID era really changed that for us when we had like regional fights on the UFC roster.
Yeah, it's there was definitely a time where I may have just unclicked the first.
Yeah.
I may have just
every card, Jason. Let's be real.
Because it's one of those things of like, either your night gets off to a really great start, or it gets off to a really bad start.
Well, would you rather like face the inevitable right off the bat, or would you like be teased the whole time, and like then the final fight of the night comes through, and then all of a sudden you're out of the money? I don't know. I just kind of want to know immediately. You know what I mean? Like,
look, this is my one thing about when I check my rosters after the first fight is how many people every darn week stack the first fight.
Yeah, I don't get you people that do that. But there is a special group of people who do that. They stack they stack every fight. And I feel like they're kind of boxing themselves out of some high potential. Like, what's it come through like 1 out of 25 times, like I just feel like outside of a main event stack, just picking a random thing, like, hold on, let me just pick a damn random fight. I'm going to stack Bruno Silva, Alex Pereira. Like, that makes no sense at all. Like, you're how is that possible? How's that going to happen? If anything, you want to stack like lighter weight class where it could be tons of activity, and where it's like you have one takedown master against a volume striker. That's it.
Yeah, the only one I could think of recently was the it was
I don't know what these people do. I don't get
it. I'm trying to think of the guy's name in my head. He won. He was up 2-0. It was a James Krause fighter who the Krause fighter was down 2-0, and Krause is like, go balls to the wall. What do you got to lose?
Oh, yeah.
This was a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But that fight had like what was it? 4 or 5 knockdowns, takedowns, submission attempts. Like, yeah, but that's just like, to me, especially when you got 14 fights, I have no idea why you're thinking stacking. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, my buddy Josh says last stack to win was the Hooker Poirier fight. Like, yeah, that makes sense. That fight was crazy.
Yeah. But it's 5 rounds. Like, to me, right, if it's a 5-round fight, that makes so much sense. But of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. You got to check out everything PrizePicks has to offer over there. PrizePicks.com. You could also download their app in the App Store. You get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over at PrizePicks. Of course, be sure to use that promo code Awesemo for an instant first match deposit of up to $100. And of course, use our free player prop tools to help you make the best selections. And looking at over at PrizePicks here today, Pete, looking at Fight Time, the one that really stuck out to me is Chris Montinho at 14 3/4. Give me the under.
Yeah, I feel like a late finish might happen with that one. That's a strange one to put up there.
And the other one that kind of somewhat stuck out to me was Song Yadong at 8.5. I think this fight's going to hit round 3.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Song Yadong gets finished in the 3rd round.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with it.
I like the over in that one. The takedowns, we did the show on Thursday. McKinney was 2.5. He's now at 2, which kind of leads me more to go on the over side of that equation, just based on what's happened in Drew Dober. And I like the under on Jillian Robertson at 2 takedowns.
Yeah, I don't think that she gets 2 takedowns against JJ Aldrich. I think people might be a little surprised at how decent JJ Aldrich is in the defense department. So we'll have to see. Another ugly fight.
Yeah, but of course, be sure to play over there at PrizePicks, so you get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over at PrizePicks. You'll get an email within 24 to 40 hours of how you can redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Appreciate their support here of the Awesemo MMA Live Before Lock show. Alex says, does Pereira get done? I do believe he's probably one of my more confident plays today. I think the only question is can he be optimal? At his price? To me, clearly he has to get a finish. But can he score maybe multiple knockdowns to really elevate that score?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. And round 1 would be fine. But sometimes like hitting somebody with a 1-hitter quitter is just not good enough, to make it into the optimal lineup. Especially like some weird things can happen where like it happens on the ground. So now you don't get a knockdown. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I have Pereira in a ton of my lineups, and I understand the concern of saying, he's a kickboxer crossing over into MMA, and kickboxers don't know how to really get used to defending against MMA gloves. And I think there are some, that's correct to a point. But like comparing Gokhan Saki, who's phenomenal, against a guy, Pereira, who is training under Glover Teixeira with his whole mindset around MMA now. I don't know, man. I like Pereira quite a bit.
Next up, Tony says it goes, I'm fading the main event. I think they will be over cautious. I don't mind getting away from the main event. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm away from it a little bit more than I thought I would be.
Favorite MVP not name Ankalaev.
I wouldn't put him in my MVP. I'd probably put Pereira. There's a guy that his activity level is just through the roof, and he's making his debut today. And I'm a little bullish on him as well. So I'm bullish on AJ Fletcher, but I'm also bullish on Javid Basharat today, just because of the work rate that I saw on the Contender Series. And granted, it was against a little bit of a soft record. The guy was like 16-0 or 15-0 with like facing people off the street. But I will tell you that what I saw from passing the eye test, Javid Basharat looks like a guy who's absolutely UFC ready. And he kind of reminds me of a work rate similar to Ronnie Lawrence, where like Ronnie Lawrence like does it more in the takedown department. But this guy, Javid Basharat, has more of a Taekwondo-esque type of style, lots of kicks, lots of good striking, and a pretty solid ground and pound in grappling game as well. So Basharat's one of the guys I'm more exposed to today. And I'm still not sold that Trevin Jones is UFC caliber. I don't care.
Next up, it says, do you guys see Miranda Maverick taking Sabina Mazo to take down City?
I mean, she should, because I am worried about Sabina Mazo voluming her on the feet a little bit, just because she's a little longer. Miranda Maverick needs to like hone that aggressiveness, close the distance quick, make it ugly, work some takedowns, because if she puts Sabina Mazo on her back, Mazo's actually training out of Glover's a little bit too, which I didn't realize. I think that Miranda Maverick she has a higher ceiling than Sabina Mazo.
Favorite MVP in the 888 GPP on FanDuel, Bazarat, Schmelsberger, or Yadong? I would lean. I feel like I would rank it Bazarat, Yadong, Schmelsberger, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen more of Song Yadong, and it's a hard fight for sure. So I would still put Song Yadong 1, Basharat 2, just because the UFC debutant, you're a little worried about how they're going to do it. And then Semmelsberger is just like, I don't know. I'm off of Semmelsberger today.
Wayne says, is AJ the real deal? He looked really small compared to Schmelzberger. We talked about that on the strategy show.
Yeah.
I think frame wise, AJ should be down a weight class as opposed to fighting here at 170.
Yeah, I agree with you, but like I still feel like people are somewhat overrating the skills of Semmelsberger. And like if Fletcher closes the gap, there goes that reach, disadvantage, and he gets on top. There goes that reach disadvantage. It's just a matter of not staying on the outside. And he does move his head a little bit, moves his hands, which I like. So Semmelsberger has been finished in the past from amateur to pro, and AJ Fletcher has looked like an unbelievable prospect. And man, I'm telling you, if he wins here, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about him. The UFC seems to think that he's a prospect as well with all the production that they're putting behind him.
Antoine says this card is expletive hard. Yes.
Yeah.
I would, especially when I was hand building lineups, it was really tough for me. No, yeah, that was a tough one for me. Mazza or Fletcher for DraftKings cash. I would go Fletcher.
Fletcher, bro. Fletcher all day.
I don't even have to ask you.
Yeah.
Like, let's just like move on to the next question. I mean, I already know your answer.
Exactly.
Doug says, what are we thinking about the first fight of the night? The one thing about Azamat is, so when he fought over, I want to say it was in Brave, that was an open weight tournament where he took on heavyweights. I know you're a little bullish on him in this spot, but I don't have a lot of faith in Teflon. I'm just being honest. He scares me.
Really?
I would rather go with the favorite.
See, I mean, I don't know from passing who passes the eye test a little bit, and it would be Teflon just because I've seen him against notable names. Whereas like if I look at Azamat's career, a lot of it's done in round one, which looks fantastic. There's a few times where he did go the distance, but I tend to think that Teflon will have the better conditioning in this situation if it goes beyond the first round. And, I'm not saying that Teflon's going to break the slate by any means, but he did knock out William Knight in the regional scene. He does have a win over Jamie Pickett and Mike Rodriguez. Take that for what it's worth, but it's two notable names within the UFC.
Next up, Roundtree or Jackson for a GPP. I would prefer the Jackson route.
I'm going to go Roundtree.
Marco says, what's your mom's pick of the night, Pete? That's a good question. What is the core play for Mom Pete?
I'll text her right now. I'll let you guys know before the end of the show.
Yeah. Is Maverick a good GPP play? I would say yes, with the caveat being that she's able to take the fight to the ground.
Yeah, agreed.
We are Roundtree. Here's my on the kind of go back on that Roundtree and Jackson thing. Like, to me, I do have some concern that does Roundtree Roberson become a little bit of staring contest. Also, what does Roberson look like at 205 pounds as opposed to being an 85er?
Roberson's a weird guy, man. I listened to his media day, and I'm usually not like listening to media day stuff too often, but I don't know. He's a little odd, and Khalil's extremely odd as well. Very well spoken, but extremely odd. I feel like it's a fight that I made a group on Cruncher to include, and this is how I went about today a lot. I made a group including Carl Roberson, Khalil Roundtree, Drew Dober, Terrence McKinney, and asking the group to get to at least one of those fighters. And I think that is a nice little way to create your lineups today.
Roundtree, Kirk, or Aldrich. I would rank that in a GPP.
Jeez.
GPP, I'd probably go Roundtree, Kirk, Aldrich. Cash,
I'm going to go the same way.
See, Aldrich to me is just a cash play. She's not a GPP play.
Yeah, to get back to my mom's pick of the night, she said Youssef. So,
all right. Is Cody Brundage this week's Tim Elliott?
That's what I'm saying. Like, Cody Brundage may not have the best skill, but he has a path. And he has a wrestling path. There, not too long ago, like on the Contender Series, he took down William Knight and, took his back, flattened him out, and was moments away from getting a finish over William Knight with ground and pound. So I think that Dolce, if you get a little bit too close to him and lock your hands, he's going to go for a ride. And it's just a matter of playing within that clinch range where you're at danger of getting tripped and thrown on your head.
Who's the fighter that we haven't focused on that might surprise us tonight?
It's probably Trevin Jones, right? Like, I know that I'm all over Basharat, and like I like Basharat a lot, but like Trevin Jones just continues to do the unthinkable. And this card's a very difficult card because you got weird matchups and people within the UFC that, you know, are fighting for their jobs or maybe not even UFC ready. So 13-7 Trevin Jones, what he's done in the UFC does not look like a 13-7 fighter. His last defeat against Said Kakramanov, he looked tired. He looked like he was desperately shooting takedowns. If he goes in there similar, you know, with that same exact game plan against Javid, he's going to run into a choke or he's going to get knocked out. And, you know, the Trevin shown in the Mario Batista fight and the Timur Valiev fight in round 2 is more of what he needs to channel in order to get a victory over Javid.
Basharat or Dober on FanDuel GPP, and would you put one in the MVP? Dober could be a really interesting MVP play over on FanDuel.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I love Dober today. I love just the fact of anytime a UFC veteran's facing a guy who's relatively green and especially untested outside of round 1, because knockouts are hard to come by in the UFC. And sometimes people and fighters find lightning in a bottle, and then they, once that runs out, then their true colors show. And I've seen more from Drew Dober within his career than I have Terrence McKinney.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that does concern me about Dober is just how much he has been getting takedown in his past couple of fights. I mean, obviously one of those was against Islam Makhachev, who Islam can take down basically anybody he wants. Artie says, he goes, are you worried about Sadiq's chin?
No, I mean, not in this matchup. Like, I mean, Sadiq, anybody gets hit with big shots, and not too many people are the Terminator and they walk through them. I think that this is a tricky matchup just because of the movement and the odd angles of Alex Caceres, but the powerful boxing combinations of Sadiq Youssef is like a sight to behold. I think that he has extreme talent, especially within this division. And I think that people are somewhat underselling that Arnold Allen, you know, loss and how talented Arnold Allen is. This should be a cakewalk if Sadiq Youssef was having success against Allen.
Who are your 3 possible inside the distance fights?
Roundtree Roberson.
I go Dober McKinney.
Dober McKinney. Totally agree with that. That's 2.
Jones Basharat.
Exactly, buddy. Exactly. We're kind of right on the same exact thing.
And I'm telling you what, and more we talk about here, I really do wonder, is the Jones Basharat fight the fight we have to get right to be optimal? So to be in that conversation.
I think it might be. And that's why I took an aggressive stance over on Basharat this week. Obviously an undefeated prospect, but strength of schedule is somewhat suspect, but passing the eye test, he looks really good. And it's not just like one fight where he looks good. I went back and I looked at a lot of his fights within his career, and, you know, he does a lot of the same things. He puts a lot of pressure on his opponents, and a lot of people don't like that, and they start shooting desperation takedowns. And Trevin Jones just did that against Said Kakramanov. And if he does that, he could wind himself up in a choke again. Or Basharat can definitely channel the same exact strategy that Timur Valiev had in round 1. The dexterity with his legs, the odd angles and mixing things up, digging them to the body. Trevin Jones was quitting right then and there in round 1 from a body shot. And I think that there's a little bit of quit in Trevin Jones. And I hope that Javid Basharat can expose it this week.
You remember the fight that I was mentioning about, 3-round fight that just had crazy amount of stats in it? I couldn't think of what it was. Mana Martinez versus Ronnie Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
Ronnie Lawrence had 6 takedowns, 8 minutes of control time, 3 knockdowns. And then in the 3rd round, Mana Martinez had 2 knockdowns plus a submission attempt.
Yeah.
That's the fight I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But it's just my theory when it comes to stacking. I understand people want to do it, but for me, it's got to be 9 fights or less. And really, I want it to be a 5-round fight that I'm going to stack.
For sure.
Yusuf or Yadong? I feel more confident in Sadiq. And Tyler, do not clip me saying that.
That's like how I said I did not say my mom's pick of the week by his first name. I said my mom's pick of the week is Yusuf. So I ain't stupid, boy. I ain't stupid. Goodness gracious.
I feel like as people who do MMA shows, like people could just clip us this week just saying, song
Yadong.
Yeah. Single entry, Roberson or Roundtree?
I don't know why you do. I mean, I would just go Roundtree in a single entry, but like for single entry, I might just avoid the fight in total. It's just ugly.
Sean says, help me out, Pete. Why am I so high on Roberson and Matinho?
I don't know. I don't know why you are so high on him. I think a lot of people just want the aged veteran just to kind of like go away. And that's what people are hoping with Guido Canetti. The Roberson, and I was going back and forth with somebody in the comments on our strategy show and saying like, I'm going to have near even exposure to Roundtree and Roberson, but I would like to believe that Roberson has a grappling advantage if it goes there. He has been working extensively with James Krause and possibly making adjustments. And I hear all the talk and all the praise from Corey Anderson. And this could be a guy who's just, amazing in the gym and it just doesn't unfold under the lights. But maybe one of these days we'll see the guy that Corey Anderson is talking about.
No question about that. Of course, if you're not a Awesemo Plus member, you want to get access to ownership projections, player projections, so much more. You got to sign up for Awesemo Plus weekly pass. You get that for $29.95, gives you access to everything we have over there at awesemo.com. And if you're just looking for an Awesemo MMA pass, those start as low as $2.95 weekly. Of course, be sure to check out over there at awesemo.com. As my favorite tool that we have over there when it comes to our MMA product is that Top Fighter tool. So you can sit there and someone was asking me earlier when I'm looking at Top Fire tool, to me, the three ones that I'm magically looking at right from the start is ownership projections, top 6% and greater than 100 points percentage. Those are when it comes to that Top Fire tool. So be sure to sign up right now for Awesemo Plus weekly pass. If you want everything on site, get that for $29.95. Or if you just want an Awesemo Plus MMA pass, those start as low as $2.95 weekly. So check out there, awesemo.com/join. Next up, it says, I have 100% exposure to Pereira versus Bruno and Roundtree versus Roberson. Man, oof, I definitely do not want to get that high.
I'm really high on Pereira this week, and I hope that he doesn't just get. So let's talk about it. Bruno Silva can take him down and can make this an MMA fight. I just think that there's a bit of an ego from everything I've been listening to Bruno Silva and everything I've seen, even when he gets hurt on the feet, like in the Ultimate Fighter days, like Vitor Miranda was piecing him up on the feet, like, and bad. And I'm like, all right, well, if there's a takedown, I'm going to see it right now. No takedowns at all. And then he ended up just getting flatlined. So I'm going to say that Pereira's my guy this week. I'm not big on Bruno Silva.
Alex asked about Kurt versus Jackson. I think this is also a key fight in terms of GPPs. I think if Jackson wins, I think he wins via submission. But I think if Kirk wins, I think it is via TKO.
All right. I'm a little different than you because I feel like that fight just might go the distance. They're both very, very tough and they might challenge each other. Some of these lighter weight class fights aren't always going to end in finishes. So I got to try to navigate through and find ones that I think are going to get stretched out. And I'm hoping it's the Damon Jackson, Camuela Kirk one.
DraftKings GPP, Song Yadong or Sadiq Yusuf. Yeah, I said the whole name there.
It's kind of like a 1A, 1B, right? You have Sadiq Yusuf in a softer matchup against Caceres, despite Caceres's win streak, which is largely due to his strength of opposition. And then you have a fighter in Song Yadong going up against Marlon Moraes, who is one of the highest touted prospects. And can Marlon Moraes make adjustments? He's talking about making adjustments with his camps. So I'll lean Sadiq Yusuf as a better play.
Mr. Guy says Cody Bunger posting on social media about working on not being scared. I think as someone who has interviewed fighters for a decade, I think a lot of people don't understand how much this game is mental.
I'll tell you what, I've had amazing preparations in some fights, and then you go into the fights, and like it's more mental than anything. I'd probably say 90% mental, to be honest. Like if somebody just does not care and they can go out there and find their reasons to fight, I favor that guy, because there have been plenty of times when I've had horrible training camps, didn't have a gym to train at, was training in parking lots, and my mental game for that camp, I don't know how, it was better than ever. And I had the best performances when I was training in a parking lot. It just makes no sense at all.
Next up, Fletcher or Tafon. I think we pretty much know where you're going to go there, but you've mentioned you both. Do you like both these guys?
Yeah, I don't mind either one of them. I'm just really bullish on the wrestler, priced that low. So give me Fletcher.
Dober or Fletcher MVP on a FanDuel GPP. I mean, that's two different realms there. I feel like,
correct.
Man,
it's got to be Dober, but just from everything we've seen, like you can't put that much. Like all we need for Fletcher to come through is a takedowns and a decision at his price point. You put him in MVP, you need 100+ points. I just think Dober's more likely.
Yeah. But I mean, if Fletcher is able to get those takedowns, man, the sky is the limit on what he can score.
Yeah, agreed.
I will say this on the Silva Alex fight. What does concern me is if there is not a stoppage in that fight of can Alex be optimal 8,900 if he can't get the finish?
Yeah, and I would say probably not optimal. And to follow that up, Darren Henton has a fantastic question, and this goes to show that this guy has been paying attention to our shows, and I appreciate you, and so does Jason. Says, what's the difference between someone like Pereira, who you are high on today, and someone like Blood Diamond, who you called to lose? And I think that's a fantastic question, because Blood Diamond came from an extensive kickboxing background where people were touting him. And I think it's just levels, right? Like Pereira's on a different level. And I know that he's within a championship caliber team with Glover Teixeira working on his craft to improve his takedowns, takedown defense and everything. And I just think it's a matchup as well. Like you have Pereira going up against a guy who was willing to stand and trade. And I think it's going to be a mistake.
Yeah, it's because in the Wells fight, you looked at Wells saying he's going to try to take this and make this a grappling.
Exactly.
He's not going to sit there and have a stand-up fight, which, I mean, look, is a smart game plan. If you're going up against a decorated kickboxer, yeah, the best idea is just to take this fight to the ground. But that in this matchup, I just don't think that we're going to see that. Of course, we're under 5 minutes before we're going to hit lock here. Of course, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe also right here on YouTube. Let's get those likes over 150 before we get out of here. Of course, coming up here later on today, you got NBA Deeper Dive. Of course, myself and Pete, we're back here next week to get you ready for the Fight Night card in London that we're expecting the main event is going to be Tom Aspinall versus Alexander Volkov.
My guy, Tom Aspinall.
But the one thing Dana White did say last week that, if they can't get Alexander Volkov into England, that they will have a opponent ready for Tom Aspinall. They haven't said who it's going to be. I'm guessing the UFC has probably told the Tom Aspinall team, hey, here is going to be the backup opponent. Yeah.
All in all, I just can't wait. I think that the sky's the limit for this kid, and I just can't wait to see him perform. So I hope that matchup stays through.
Yeah, next Saturday we'll be here 12 o'clock Eastern time. That's a 1 p.m. lock time next Saturday for UFC London. So we'll, the thing with Alexander Volkov is it's more of, does something change in the next 48 hours that causes England to decide they're not going to let him in the country. The UFC for about 2.5 weeks now has been trying to get Volkov to leave Russia to head to England.
Yeah. Crazy what the UFC has to do to get things happening. It's not just like everybody's in the States and it's pretty easy. Like this is an international worldwide sport. So it's just pretty amazing. And I just want to show appreciation towards the UFC of keeping this going.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that you sit there and you say is, and Dana says this all the time. Bad stuff happens each and every day,
Yeah.
and they keep the train going. Of course, it is a busy night at MMA. We also got Bellators tonight, so if you're looking,
Oh boy,
maybe to place a little wager over there,
who's on
really good
tonight?
main.
Who's on
It's
tonight?
Mads Burnell versus Adam Borks is the main event. You've got Phil Davis versus Julia Angelikas as the co-main event. Also, you got John Salter versus Johnny Eblin.
That kid
Potentially,
Eblin's nasty. That kid Eblin is nasty.
Eblin could be fighting for a title shot tonight.
Eblin is disgusting, and I don't think he's got hands for days. Part of a great camp. I'm gonna have to get 2 TVs going.
Yeah, so that's all going down tonight. Of course, we are just under 2 minutes before we're going to hit lock. Of course, appreciate everyone tuning in here for Live Before Lock. As I mentioned, we'll be back here on Thursday for the strategy show for UFC London. And of course, next Saturday we'll be here. Pete, anything you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, just good luck, guys, and hopefully you got exposure to some of the volatile matchups. Hit that like button before you guys head out, and good luck tonight. Send us some screenshots on Twitter at Jason_Floyd, at Pete the Heat MMA. Again, we appreciate you.
I'm going to see you go into that Awesemo Hall of Fame tonight. So that's going to do it for Live Before Lock. We will talk to you on Thursday for the strategy show. Now it's time to watch some fights. So have a good day, everybody.